Good evening. It is Friday, October 29th, 2021. This evening I'd like to look at Psalm 143, verses 1 to 6, and I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation, 2nd edition. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Listen to my plea. Answer me, because you are faithful and righteous. Don't put your servant on trial, for no one is innocent before you. My enemy has chased me. He has knocked me to the ground and forces me to live in darkness like those in the grave. I'm losing all hope. I'm paralyzed with fear. I remember the days of old. I ponder all your great works and think about what you have done. I lift my hands to you in prayer. I thirst for you as parched land thirsts for rain. The psalmist begins by asking God to hear his prayer. He does not ask God to hear his prayer on the basis of the psalmist's wonderful qualities. It's not, hear my prayer because I go to church every week. Hear my prayer because I tithe all my income. Hear my prayer because I'm nice to all my neighbors. He appeals to God to hear his prayer on the basis of God's qualities. God is faithful and righteous. Therefore, God hears our prayers. Then the psalmist asks God to please not put the psalmist on trial. He knows that if he has a trial on his own merits, that he'll be found guilty and deserving of punishment. We need to be careful not to lose track of the idea that we are all hell-deserving sinners, and anything we receive is because of God's marvelous love and grace. We are sinners, saved by grace. The psalmist then describes his situation after he's lost to his enemies. He's been chased down, thrown to the ground, and stuck in a hole. Talk about kicking a man when he's down. When life has handed you so much that you cannot see your way clear, you're in the same situation as the psalmist. He describes himself as losing all hope. You're in a bad way when you see yourself as a hopeless situation. Then he describes the paralysis of fear. Here's a warrior struggling to respond because of fear. But then he lets us know how he moves out of fear and hopelessness. He remembers the acts of God in times past, the power and majesty of God that he has both heard about and witnessed. He has filled his memory banks with the awesome stories of God's actions both on his own account and God's actions in the lives of others. Can you remember the stories of God's actions? Can you tell of God's movements throughout history, both biblical and modern? Have you read any of the biographies of the heroes of the faith and learned about those who trusted God and watched God move in mighty ways? He says he lifts his hands in prayer. Even when paralyzed by fear, his hands can raise to God in praise and supplication. He then describes his longing for God, using the metaphor of a dry desert land wanting rain. You know, many of us have bad times in our lives when we're struggling both emotionally and physically. We may need help to get through those tough times. The psalmist got help from the Lord based on the character and nature of God. May your memory of God's mighty acts help you through the rough times in your life. God bless you.